Las Vegas has always sold excess, but the scale of what is being built now says something different about where the city thinks its money will come from next. In the year 2022, roughly 38.8 million visitors passed through Las Vegas, a figure that put the city back near its pre-pandemic peak and confirmed a blunt reality. This economy still runs on bodies in hotel rooms, convention halls, restaurants, and entertainment venues. The Strip may look like fantasy, but underneath it is a very practical machine designed to convert attention into cash. For decades, Las Vegas branded itself as the entertainment capital of the world, a slogan that sounds vague until you look at the balance sheet. The city consistently ranks among the top convention destinations in the United States, and it holds more AAA 5-diamond hotels than any other city in the country. That combination matters. Leisure travelers fill rooms on weekends, but conventions and business travel keep hotels full midweek, stabilize revenues, and justify billion-dollar construction bets. Las Vegas is not just competing with Orlando or New York anymore. It is competing with remote work, virtual conferences, and companies that increasingly ask why they should fly anyone, anywhere at all. That pressure explains why recent megaprojects are not framed as simple casino expansions. They are pitched as integrated economic infrastructure. Bigger ballrooms, larger exhibition floors, hotels designed to move thousands of people from meetings to restaurants to shows without ever leaving the property. This is not accidental design. It is a response to an industry that knows demand can evaporate quickly if the experience feels outdated. There is also a quiet geographic shift embedded in these projects. Las Vegas is no longer betting only on international tourists or bachelor parties. It is targeting corporate America, West Coast professionals, and regional travelers who can be moved quickly and repeatedly between Southern California and Nevada. When you see investments stacked around convention centers, transportation corridors, and off-strip neighborhoods, what you are really seeing is a city trying to diversify who shows up and why. The irony is that Las Vegas sells novelty while relying on repetition. Visitors are supposed to feel like they are seeing something new, even if they return 3 or 4 times a year. That forces constant construction. If nothing new opens, demand softens. If demand softens, the debt that funded the last round of projects starts to look dangerous. So Las Vegas builds again, larger and louder, and markets the next phase as inevitable progress. This first layer of analysis matters because every mega project currently under construction fits into this same logic. They are not vanity structures. They are attempts to future-proof a city whose core product is experience, in an economy where attention is increasingly fragmented and brutally competitive. Fontainebleau, Las Vegas is the clearest example of how stubborn and expensive this new phase of development has become. The resort finally opened in December of the year 2023. After more than a decade of delays, ownership changes, lawsuits, and financing breakdowns. In a rational market, a project that troubled would normally be downsized or quietly written off. In Las Vegas, it was resurrected, expanded, and marketed as proof that ultra-luxury still has a future on the Strip. With a total development cost of roughly $3.7 billion, Fontainebleau Las Vegas delivers more than 3,600 guest rooms, a casino floor measuring tens of thousands of square meters, and a massive convention and ballroom complex designed explicitly for large-scale corporate events. The building rises 68 stories, making it one of the tallest structures in Nevada, a detail that is less about skyline pride and more about visibility. Height still sells in Las Vegas. What sets Fontainebleau apart is not size alone, but positioning. Unlike legacy operators such as Caesars Entertainment or MGM Resorts International, which spread their brands across multiple properties, Fontainebleau is designed as a self-contained ecosystem. Everything is under one roof: hotel, casino, dining, nightlife, retail, and convention space. This is a direct bet on efficiency. Corporate clients want fewer logistics, fewer transfers, fewer chances for friction. Location reinforces that strategy. Fontainebleau sits next to the Las Vegas Convention Center, one of the largest convention facilities in the world. That proximity is not aesthetic. It allows the resort to capture business travelers who prioritize meeting access over Strip nostalgia. In practical terms, Fontainebleau is competing less with themed casinos and more with business hotels in cities like Chicago, Dallas, or Atlanta, while still charging Vegas prices. The timing of the opening is also telling. Bringing a $3.7 billion resort online in late 2023 was a wager on sustained convention recovery and corporate travel budgets holding up despite inflation and cost-cutting pressure across American companies. Fontainebleau is not built for cautious demand. It assumes that executives will keep flying, exhibitors will keep paying for floor space, and companies will continue to justify large in-person events. There is a sharp irony here. Fontainebleau markets itself as new, but its economic logic is old Vegas. Build bigger than necessary, and trust that demand will eventually catch up. Whether that confidence proves justified will depend less on tourists and more on how long corporate America keeps treating Las Vegas as a serious business destination rather than a discretionary expense. While Fontainebleau aims straight at convention traffic and high-end corporate spending, Durango Station represents a quieter but equally important shift in how Las Vegas thinks about growth. This project is not trying to dominate the Strip or compete for international headlines. It is designed for people who actually live in Las Vegas, and that alone makes it strategically interesting. Durango Station Casino opened in the southwest of the city, far from the traditional tourist corridor. With an investment of roughly $750 million, the resort includes a casino floor, a hotel tower with a little over 200 guest rooms, multiple restaurants, meeting space, and outdoor social areas built around pools and event lawns. Construction began in the year 2022, and the property officially opened in November of the year 2023. The design language matters here. Durango Station avoids the heavy spectacle that defines Strip resorts. The materials, colors, and layout lean into desert tones and open space rather than neon and excess. This is not about impressing first-time visitors. It is about becoming a regular destination for repeat customers who live nearby and are looking for dining, entertainment, and gaming without dealing with Strip traffic or crowds. From an economic perspective, this is a defensive move. Las Vegas has learned the hard way that relying entirely on tourists creates volatility. When travel drops, revenues collapse fast. Local casinos provide a steadier cash flow, even if margins are thinner. By investing heavily off-Strip, operators are effectively hedging against future shocks, whether those come from economic downturns, travel disruptions, or changing leisure habits. Durango Station also reflects a subtle generational shift. Younger residents are less interested in traditional casino experiences and more focused on food, social spaces, and convenience. The inclusion of electric vehicle charging stations, bike access, and flexible indoor-outdoor layouts is not branding fluff. It signals an attempt to modernize the local casino model for an audience that does not automatically associate leisure with slot machines. There is a mild contradiction embedded in the project. Spending hundreds of millions of dollars to serve locals suggests confidence in population growth and household spending, even as housing costs and inflation pressure disposable income across the region. Durango Station assumes that Las Vegas will continue to grow outward and that its residents will keep spending on entertainment close to home. In the broader context of Las Vegas mega projects, Durango Station plays a grounding role. It shows that the city is not only building for tourists who arrive by plane, but also for residents who drive home at night. That balance will matter if Las Vegas wants a more resilient economic base, instead of one permanently tied to the next visitor surge. If the resort projects show how Las Vegas plans to monetize people once they arrive, Brightline West explains how the city plans to move them there in the first place. The high-speed rail link between Las Vegas and Southern California is not a side project. It is one of the most strategically important infrastructure bets the region has made in decades. Brightline West is designed to connect Las Vegas with Rancho Cucamonga in Southern California, where passengers can transfer directly into the Metrolink commuter rail system, serving the greater Los Angeles area. Trains are planned to run at speeds approaching 300 kilometers per hour, cutting the trip to roughly 2 hours and 10 minutes under optimal conditions. That is about half the time of a typical car journey along Interstate 15 during peak traffic. The numbers driving this project are hard to ignore. More than 50 million trips are made between Southern California and Las Vegas every year, the vast majority by car. That traffic is not only inefficient, but politically inconvenient, given California's climate targets and chronic congestion. Brightline West positions itself as a cleaner alternative, with projections claiming a reduction of more than 400,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually once operations stabilize. What has changed recently is the timeline and the money. After years of planning, surveying began in early 2024, and a formal groundbreaking ceremony took place in April of the same year. The project has since secured approximately $3 billion in federal funding, a clear signal that Washington sees the line as more than a regional experiment. Current projections now point to an operational start around September of the year 2029, later than earlier marketing suggested, but more realistic given the scale of construction. That delay matters. High-speed rail projects in the United States have a reputation for optimistic schedules and painful revisions. Brightline West is no exception. Rising construction costs, land acquisition challenges, and coordination with multiple state and local agencies all increase risk. From a Las Vegas perspective, however, even a delayed line is better than none. Every successful train load represents fewer cars, fewer bottlenecks, and more predictable visitor flows. There is also a blunt economic logic at work. A reliable rail connection effectively expands Las Vegas's labor and visitor market deep into Southern California. Weekend trips become easier. Convention attendance becomes less dependent on flights. The city becomes, in functional terms, closer to Los Angeles without physically moving an inch. Brightline West is often marketed as a green mobility project, but its real value lies in volume. If it works, it feeds every casino, hotel, and venue in Las Vegas with a steadier stream of visitors. If it underperforms, it will join a long list of American rail ambitions that promised transformation and delivered far less. Either way, Las Vegas is betting that access, not just attraction, will define its next growth cycle. If Brightline West is about moving people efficiently, the MSG Sphere is about keeping their attention once they arrive. This project is not a hotel, not a casino, and not a convention hall. It is a purpose-built attention machine, designed to monetize spectacle at a scale Las Vegas has never attempted before. MSG Sphere opened in September of the year 2023, with a reported construction cost exceeding $2.3 billion. A figure that continued to climb as technology and customization expanded. The structure is a massive spherical venue whose exterior is wrapped in millions of programmable light-emitting diodes, effectively turning the entire building into a dynamic billboard visible across the city. In Las Vegas, where visual noise is normal, that alone is a competitive advantage. Inside, the numbers become even more aggressive. The interior features a wraparound screen with a resolution advertised at 16K by 16K. Covering roughly 155,000 square meters of curved surface. The seating capacity is approximately 18,000, but the experience is not framed as a traditional concert or sports event. It is marketed as immersion. Wind, vibration, sound direction, and climate effects are synchronized with visual content to create a controlled sensory environment that cannot be replicated on a television or phone. This matters economically because MSG Sphere is not selling tickets alone. It is selling differentiation. In an era where entertainment competes with streaming platforms, gaming, and social media, Las Vegas needs venues that justify leaving the house, boarding a plane, and paying premium prices. Sphere is built to answer that challenge directly. It does not compete with local arenas. It competes with staying home. The choice of opening acts and programming reinforces this logic. Launching with a high-profile residency by U2 was not about nostalgia. It was about credibility. The message was clear. This is not a novelty attraction, but a flagship venue intended to host global-scale productions for years. There is, however, a risk embedded in the design. Sphere requires constant content innovation to justify its operating costs. Unlike a casino floor, it cannot rely on habitual behavior. Each visit has to feel meaningfully different. That creates pressure on producers, artists, and technology teams to deliver spectacle at an industrial pace. From a strategic standpoint, MSG Sphere represents Las Vegas, acknowledging a hard truth. Attention is the most scarce resource in the modern economy. By investing billions into a structure whose only job is to dominate that attention, the city is making an explicit bet that experience-based entertainment will continue to outperform passive consumption. If that bet holds, Sphere becomes a blueprint. If it fails, it becomes a very expensive reminder that novelty has a short shelf life. Blue Tech Park is the most speculative project on Las Vegas's current development slate, and that is precisely why it is useful to analyze. Unlike the resorts, rail lines, or entertainment venues already operating, This project exists mostly on paper, renderings, and investor presentations. It is being sold as an $8 billion city within a city, built around net zero buildings, artificial intelligence, robotics, and renewable energy systems. Blue Tech Park is pitched as a mixed-use district, combining offices, retail, housing, and entertainment into a single integrated environment. The promise is familiar to anyone who has watched smart city proposals over the past decade. Buildings that generate their own energy, public spaces that double as power sources, and infrastructure managed by automated systems rather than human labor. In this case, even sidewalks are marketed as potential electricity generators, capturing energy from footsteps. From a journalistic standpoint, the gap between ambition and execution is where the real story sits. As of now, Blue Tech Park remains in the planning phase, with no large-scale construction underway. That makes its $8 billion valuation less a financial fact and more a signal. Las Vegas wants to be associated with technology and sustainability, even if the delivery timeline remains flexible. The economic logic is also more fragile than marketing materials suggest. Smart city infrastructure is expensive to build and even more expensive to maintain. Artificial intelligence and robotics reduce some labor costs, but they introduce new dependencies on software vendors, energy systems, and continuous upgrades. Net zero claims depend heavily on regulatory definitions and long-term performance, not opening day press releases. There is also a real estate angle that should not be ignored. Packaging future technology into a master-planned district allows developers to price land and space at a premium long before the benefits are proven. In other words, the future is being monetized in advance. This is not unique to Las Vegas, but the city has always been unusually comfortable selling vision before verification. Blue Tech Park fits neatly into the broader narrative of Las Vegas, repositioning itself. It tells investors and policymakers that the city wants to move beyond casinos and conferences and into the language of innovation hubs and sustainable urbanism. Whether that ambition translates into a functioning district or stalls at the rendering stage will depend on capital markets, regulatory support, and demand that extends beyond marketing slogans. For now, Blue Tech Park functions less as infrastructure and more as signal. It signals intent, branding, and aspiration. In a city built on projection and promise, that may be enough to keep interest alive, even if the hard questions about cost, feasibility, and returns remain unanswered. When you step back and look at these projects together, a consistent pattern emerges. Las Vegas is no longer betting its future on gambling alone, and it is not even betting solely on tourism in the traditional sense. It is betting on systems. Systems that move people faster, keep them longer, extract more value per visit, and reduce volatility when the next shock arrives. The mega projects under construction are not random monuments to excess. They are components in a deliberate attempt to redesign how the city functions as an economic engine. The numbers support that interpretation. Tens of millions of visitors each year, billions of dollars in private investment, and massive public funding commitments for infrastructure signal confidence, but also dependence. Las Vegas needs volume. It needs conventions to justify oversized hotels, rail links to justify convention growth, and headline venues like the Sphere to justify premium pricing in an increasingly crowded entertainment market. Each project reinforces the others. Remove one, and the logic weakens. There is also a harder truth beneath the optimism. Nearly every project described here assumes continued growth in travel, discretionary spending, and corporate events. Inflation, energy costs, climate constraints, and changing work habits all sit in the background as risks that cannot be engineered away with LED screens or faster trains. Las Vegas has always lived with risk. The difference now is scale. When bets fail at this level, the consequences ripple far beyond a single casino operator. What makes this moment particularly revealing is how openly the city embraces contradiction. It sells sustainability while expanding in the desert. It promotes efficiency while building structures designed to overwhelm the senses. It markets itself as futuristic while relying on the same core behavior it always has: people showing up in large numbers and spending money to feel entertained, impressed, and temporarily distracted. In that sense, Las Vegas is not an outlier. It is a concentrated version of a broader American urban strategy, where cities compete for attention, capital, and mobility, by building ever larger and more specialized infrastructure. The difference is that Las Vegas does it without pretending otherwise. It openly acknowledges that experience is its product, and that constant reinvention is not optional. Whether this new wave of megaprojects makes the city more resilient or simply more exposed will become clear over the next decade. For now, Las Vegas is doing what it has always done best, placing another large, confident bet on the future and daring the market to prove it wrong. Thank you for watching. And let us know what you think about this new phase of development in Las Vegas by leaving your thoughts in the comments.